Hey, aloha, mi amigos. A lot of you guys know that I am blind in this eye. In my left eye, I am blind. Have been since I was a little baby. I was born with a detached retina. So I have no depth perception at all. So I really suck at volleyball. It's really sad. And that's just something I have dealt with all my life. Well, when I was a little kid, the eye doctor thought I was faking it. Thought I was just being kind of lazy. Thought I wasn't telling the truth. Thought, yeah, he can see. He's just kind of faking it. And so he had this brilliant idea. And his idea was, let's cover up the good eye. Let's put an eye patch over the good eye. And so that way you'll have to use the bad eye. And what happened was about a week of me just running into walls and stumbling over things and not knowing where I was and kind of living in darkness the entire week. And finally my mom was like, he's hurting himself. He's falling over things. He's legs are all bruised up. He's hurt his head. This isn't good for the child. So they took that eye off and the eye patch off, and all of a sudden, boom, I could see. It was an amazing deal. Now Jesus comes along in the book of John, in John chapter 9, and there's a verse that he gives us, and we're going to look at it. It's John chapter 9, verse 39, and it says this: Jesus said, I have entered this world to announce a verdict that changes everything. Now those without sight may begin to see, and those who see may become blind. So Jesus comes along, and just like everything else, he turns sight upside down. He turns everything inside out. And he gives us this crazy irony. And he says those that think they can see are going to be blind. And those who realize that they're blind are going to be given the gift of sight. When we have confidence in our vision, when we think we know what we are doing, when we think we have it all figured out, we're actually blind to the truth. When we think we can see clearly now and we have it everything in a row, we are actually kidding ourselves, and we are blind to the reality that is right there in front of us. We can't see past ourselves a lot of times. A lot of times that's all we can see, and we need to admit that we are stumbling around. That is the secret, my friends, to sight, is to admit that you're stumbling around. The secret to me being able to see again after a week was taking off the eye patch and realizing this isn't working, all right? We can say that there's not a problem, but there obviously is. And a lot of times we act like we don't have a problem. A lot of times we act like we're not really stumbling around. We have it all figured out, but we need to admit that we have a vision problem. But sometimes pride keeps us from doing that. We don't want to admit that I'm a sinner. We don't want to admit that I have some problems in my life. We don't want to admit that I have some hang-ups. And so we continue to remain spiritually blind. We act like we can see, but we really can't. We can't see past ourselves. We can't see past our sin. We need to admit that we are stumbling around. And when we do that, guess what happens? Jesus comes along, and when we say, I've been stumbling around in the dark and I can't see, Jesus comes along and he says, boom! There you go. I'll give you sight. When we admit that we need him, when we admit that we're just stumbling around in the dark, and then he helps us see the truth. And he comes along and Jesus says, I'm going to help you see the truth. I'm going to help you see spiritually. I'm going to help you see the truth about who you are. And I'm going to help you see the truth about who I am. And I'm going to help you see the truth about what I've designed you to do. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. God bless you guys. Giddy up!